from their homes. Aid agencies say it's the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The story about the girl is really disheartening. Dr. Marzouk.
Yes. Good morning to the cherished viewers, and thanks for the opportunity. Sudan. Well, we cannot run away from Sudan, because what happens in Sudan may have bearing on us. So I understand you. If not, this topic would have been so
This is the umpteenth time we are talking about it here.
Yes, it would have been redundant. You know, my worry is, it is not Sudan. Yes, Sudan is a sovereign nation, but the conflict goes beyond Sudan. It is an indication of the failure of African Union, and misbehavior and authoritarian, extension of authoritarian regimes, or authoritarianism by the regimes of the Arab world to the African soil. It is also the result of domestic authoritarianism, because the two warring generals, the leader of the Rapid Support Force, Daglo, and General Burhan, the de facto leader of Sudan today, the military leader, were both pals. They were both trainees of al-Bashir, and they both paid loyalty, unquestionable loyalty to al-Bashir. When there was the need for al-Bashir to go, and I still want to believe that it was the making of the Western imperialists. They took the files. I know they are good at that. They will brand you a dictator, and I don't know how I don't know their definition of dictatorship. When it matters to them, or crush demonstrators. When it doesn't matter, crushing of demonstrators is undemocratic. So they have their own version of democracy. So they branded al-Bashir a dictator, and they were able to get some irresponsible, unpatriotic Sudanese to rise against al-Bashir. The two generals who were very loyal to al-Bashir then took advantage of the situation and came to power. Theirs was power sharing, to share the power. One leader, another the deputy. And before that, in al-Bashir regime, these two generals had been protagonists of bloodshed in Darfur. In fact, the Rapid Support Force has just been transformed. It was the government-sponsored rebel group that caused all kinds of atrocities in Darfur. So they came together. And at the time, Al-Burhan didn't know the warfare. He was just the army general. So he didn't know the warfare. So, and that's why the Sudanese army finds it very difficult to confront the Rapid Support Force, because the Rapid Support Forces have been associated with atrocities for a very long time, from the time of Darfur. So they came together, and then power sharing, something that they were supposed to share, now they are struggling over it. So what is happening began as a matter of power sharing, but today the two generals have been able to galvanize support from some leaders of the Arab world. You know that the Sudanese government has taken UAE to court for genocide. Yeah. You know that. And it is not only UAE. Talk of the Saudis, the whatever, the wealthy Khalij countries. We call them Khalij, Gulf countries. In Arabic we say Khalij. The wealthy Khalij countries. All of them have their support. And all of them are happy to see Sudan burn. They are Arabs, but they are not Africans. And they don't care. It is a matter of dominance. So Sudanese issue goes beyond the mere Sudanese problem. No, it is not an economic problem. It is not an employment problem. It is not a democratic problem. It's not a domestic problem. It is a theater. Sudan has become a theater of territorial battle, a theater of hegemonic dominance for the wealthy Arab nations, for the Western imperialists. You know that we have a line of authoritarianism. It starts from the West. The West have been able to colonize all the Arab leaders. And Arab leaders have been able to colonize their own subjects. And their own subjects have been able to colonize, the wealthy among them have colonized the poor among them. And the various Arab countries have also been able to devise a mechanism by which they can colonize some Arab African countries. That's the chain of authoritarianism happening. So it's very difficult to fight this. And then, so what I am proposing is that African leaders should be able to establish the flow of the ammunition. I'm happy Prince has been to Sudan. And if you went to Sudan and you saw how Sudan was, then you are now hearing what is happening there. I'm telling you, will have cause to be disturbed. Sudan could not, Khartoum, you couldn't compare Accra to Khartoum. Excellent people, culture, very good people, good food. Do you know that our students studying in Sudan, in the Jamiat al-Alamiya al-Afriqiyya, African University, International African University in Sudan, they've just returned. They used to give a scholarship to study STEM courses. That is Sudan. A lot of people didn't know. Today, that opportunity has been bastardized. African leaders are sitting idle because they themselves cannot handle their own situation, their own problems. So African leaders, as I said, should be able to establish the flow of the arm, the source of the arm. Where do the ammunitions come from? Then two, it should be a priority for for AU to handle. Three, the Gulf countries, the leaders of the Gulf countries should, in the name of Almighty Allah, because they claim they worship Allah, in the name of Almighty Allah, withdraw their hegemonic interests from Sudan and allow peace to prevail in Sudan. And then the last one is that the warring factions, particularly the two generals, the formerly trained general and the rebel-oriented trained general, Daglo, are both Muslims. I want to end this submission by referring them to Quran, Surah Hujurat, Ayah 10, where Almighty Allah says that Muslims or believers constitute one family. And if there is any confusion at all, you go for reconciliation. And when you do the reconciliation, definitely you stand to benefit from divine mercy. إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. والسلام.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marzouk. Let me come to Solomon Owusu on this Sudan matter. Why haven't we been able to reach a peace deal? It's been long overdue.
It's greed. The leaders are greedy. They are enjoying money from the West,
Yes.
and from the Middle East.
Yes.
So who wants to leave the money? That is the only reason. And I believe where Doc ended is where I want to start from. That the two leaders, Burhan and then Hamiti,
Yeah.
they all visit mosques. They all have imams that they believe in. What are the imams doing there? What are they telling them?
Yes.
Because you cannot say that you are doing this in the name of Allah when close to 150,000 people have been killed. 8.8 million people have been displaced. 3.5 million Sudanese have become refugees. And like he was saying, in terms of development, Ghana couldn't compare to Sudan. They are able to even come to our local league and buy our top players to go and play Sudanese league.
Yeah.
When was the last time we were able to go to Sudan and buy the players to Ghana? Ahila, they have been part of the top class in Africa. Agriculture, they have the technology. They utilize it now. And mind you, Egypt also has an interest in this war because the Nile River is a source of power struggle. You understand? And so, a combination of all these factors. But I will only go back and blame those two leaders. You are Sudanese. Your fellow countrymen are being killed, are being subjected to inhumane treatment, and all that you are interested in is power. If you get that power and all Sudanese are dead, are you going to lord over the land, or who? You come to Ghana and lead us? So it's a greed that is permeating. But they will get away with this because Africa, we are not even united. No. United we stand, divided we fall. Can you imagine Africa as a continent having a standing army? Which state within Africa would have misbehaved? We would have crushed them. But we are not thinking along these lines. A continent that got its what's the name? AU headquarters built by the Chinese. Are we independent? In the midst of all this gold, our AU village or headquarters had to be put up by a foreign interest. The last time I checked, said they had the gadgets in the building that were recording meetings here and there. Didn't you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
But that showed how stupid we have been as a continent, how useless we have been as a continent, that you have your leaders go to a meeting, they cannot pull resources together to build a common headquarters of the African Union. Go to Ethiopia, they are fighting with Somalia. Hunger. There is war in Congo. Congolese are blaming Rwandans. Burkina is blaming Ivory Coast, blaming Benin. So what at all is wrong with us? So the basis of dealing with this matter has to still fall on the AU. That we must begin to have leaders whose interests are not to serve the West, but to serve Africans. Something is happening between Ghana and Nigeria that for me, I take it in a positive state instead of the negative state. That seemingly rivalry is positive. Ghana, Nigeria, Jollof. Ghana, it is pushing us to go. Once we look at it from the positive aspect, it can affect the rest of Africa. The modern day Africans want to unite, but the leaders are still living in their medieval ages. They are there to serve the interest of the West. When you travel now and you see your fellow African, they right now come to you, they feel that we are brothers. And what is even interesting, people would have thought that, oh, those that are from the northern part of Africa, Tunisians, Moroccans, Egyptians, would rather distance themselves from those of them from the sub-Saharan Africa. They rather will be chasing you. Yeah. You are my brother, you are my brother.
Algerians, yeah.
So why can't our leaders see through this and begin to do things that will unify all of us? Rather than always coming here, that your fellow human beings are eating charcoal and leaves. Hamiti and Burhan are your family members eating charcoal and this. And that is why Sudanese must begin to also rise up against them. They must think outside the box and say that these people are not leading us anywhere.
In fact, their family members are not in Sudan.
They are in UAE.
They are in UAE.
Chilling. Go and see them yachts and other things that they are.
I'm telling you.
They are chilling over there. And it is in the interest of the UAE that there is confusion there, because a lot of their security police people in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and so are Sudanese.
Yes.
I'm
telling you.
For how long can we continue to discuss this matter? Bless. For how long? And for how long can we continue to blame the West when we ourselves are not thinking straight? The last time I heard this administration is taking over the Daman Goldfields, and I heard people complain about it. I realized that we are sick as a nation. That your whole country wants to take over our mines so that we enjoy the full benefit. You are rather fighting that the Australians must continue to hold on to the mines and be taking out the gold, and that is what it interests you. These are nation wreckers, and they call themselves Ghanaians. They call themselves Ghanaians, and that is why we are poor. They really worked on our psyche, and it is time we worked on our psyche and bring it back. My dear Sudanese, use the energy left in you to begin to fight back. Else, you will be refugees, you will be displaced, and how long can you survive on charcoal and leaves? You will die eventually. So fight so that the unborn generation will have a country called Sudan. I'll end it.
Thank you very much. Let me round off this discussion on Sudan with Mr. Prince Derek J.
I'll be very brief. Yes, I've had opportunity to be in Sudan when I was the deputy CEO for the National Youth Authority. In fact, the Sudanese president at the time, Bashir, built for Africa, the Africa Union, the youth organization's headquarters. Just like we have the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, and we have the AFTA, that's a trade, wing in Ghana. The youth of Africa, the headquarters, is in Sudan. Beautiful country, very, very beautiful country it is. The people, at least, were warm, those we met. The streets clean, all asphalted, paved nicely, street lights working, security cameras. They even have 7-star hotels, 7-star. And the people love to eat. They like their restaurants. And when you see families sitting around the table, the food is like a buffet. But that's just one family eating. And so to think of them having come this 360 from where families sit and eat. In fact, honestly, it's like party every day. It's not like that's regular. That's regular. That's very regular. So there's bread here, there's leaves here, there's this, there's that, and that. And now these people have been reduced to eating charcoal. Goodness, I mean, how did we get here? Because of two men, the greed and power, misguided elements, and foreign interests. I think that Ghanaians must learn a lesson from this, and also not to allow ourselves to get to that point, because we can easily get there. Sure. I see signs of people wishing Ghana burns so they can have power. I mean, some of them are not even necessarily for power. Some just to escape prosecution, investigation, arrest, and so on. So they want to destabilize the country, try to have needless demonstrations, and so on and so forth, and mobilize their base in order to protect themselves from prosecution. My admonition to each and every one of us is, let us not go down these tubes. Let us, get our leaders as the AU to, at the very least, fight for the youth of Africa. I mean, now they have no headquarters. I mean, who's going to go to that beautiful edifice that Bashir put up to unite the African youth? In fact, at the time, he had international sanctions on him from the US. He couldn't travel outside. And I remember the gentleman who was in charge of their youth, an exact replica of the man. When you see the two of them, you wouldn't know which one is Bashir and which one is the youth leader. We met in different conferences in other places. I remember we had Libya together during Gaddafi's time. We met. I mean, it's sad. Even Libya. See what's happened to Libya. Oh, yes. And these are deliberately orchestrated. These are very wealthy countries when it comes to oil and so on. I regret what the Sudanese in the north have done to their compatriots in the south because of oil. But that said, I mean, why should the entire country now be in this kind of situation? And I always like to, when we're discussing African stories, bring it home. It's not too different from what's happening up north in Ghana. Mm-hmm. We have our northern parts of Ghana almost you know, in a conflict situation. Baku, and it's trickling down. Then you look at what the Galamseyers are doing, you know, across and poisoning us. Why should we be doing this to ourselves? Why are we killing ourselves? And if we are not careful, and Cote d'Ivoire or Burkina is destabilized, and I'm happy that the three-nation thing that Colonel Beblolate is spearheading should at least help us stabilize the Sahel and bring them within the fold of ECOWAS and strengthen ECOWAS, strengthen the regional blocs, and then ultimately strengthen Africa. The context of African unity must not be downplayed. And I want to entreat our foreign minister. I know he's doing some good things. He's given some KPIs to our embassies to try and make sure that they all look out for good things that he can bring back home. Within that context also, what we can send to those other countries. But I want a focus on Africa. He should try and have a special policy for Africa, not just that global thing. So that the African Union that we all look forward to within the context of the Nkrumah vision is, you know, realized in our time. Otherwise, together we will sink. If Africa is able to trade amongst itself, and we have everything we need, not just the human resource, we have every natural resource in Africa. We have arable land. In fact, Ghana alone could, if, you know, properly harnessed, can become a serious, you know, food, you know, basket for the region. So also is Nigeria and several other countries. If we can have peace and stability, then we can have development. But if we have instability, if we have little pockets of fighting, and then Islamic jihadist, you know, issues also coming in, and for me, I'm aware that Ghanaians may have lost sight of the fact that even the fight against Galamsey is unearthing some things. If you look at the 10,000 people who were flushed out of that settlement in the forest, then the composition of that 10,000. Yes, some are Ghanaians, but there are several other foreigners from, you know, warring countries, Burkina, Mali, etc., all congregated in that bush, doing human trafficking, drug, whatever, prostitution, and all the crimes that you can think of. Now, this is happening in the heart of Ghana. It's not like it's now coming down south. It is already here and has been here for a long time under the radar. Where else are these settlements? So assuming one day they just, you know, blow up in our faces, what are we going to do? Yeah. Coupled with the drug busts that we are seeing lately, and I must commend the Narcotics Control Commission people. They are seizing huge chunks of drugs that are transited in this country, which have transited this country over the years and have gone unchecked, unarrested, perhaps aided by the state. Today, we are seeing a new government that's doing all the right things. And I think we must support the government, and not just this effort, but all other efforts to consolidate the gains that they have made over the past 3 months going on 4. And I would want to entreat Ghanaians, let us all, you know, savor the moment and relish the fact that we at least have some semblance of peace. And let's do nothing to destabilize it, because if you don't want to eat charcoal, please, let there be peace.
Let there be peace. Right. Thank you very much. I'll be more than pleased to receive your messages on the topics that we are discussing this morning. And so our Facebook is very active. So is our WhatsApp and YouTube. The text line for WhatsApp, 055-9919-802. Share your messages with me. I'll do a few that I've received on Facebook already. Diane Boyd says the colonizers continue to destroy great African leaders and put in their place leaders that continue to allow them to steal Africa's valuable resources. Enough is enough. Okay. Richie Premper says, well done, Solo. Hassan bin Abdullah Felicia West says, a continent where a president like Akufo-Addo will go to America to gossip on his son Ibrahim Traore, who is fighting for Africa and Africans. The blame belongs squarely on the shoulders of the West, who continue to sabotage the unity of Africa. Okay. This one says, Solo, thank you very much. Obama Nation says, I'm enjoying your program inside what K. In regards to my father, Alhaji Alasan Suyini, as Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, Alhaji Fawan, and my NLA Director, Honorable King Salam. Okay, thank you. Right. Also, you can alternatively watch us on YouTube. Yep, if you are not on Facebook, you can watch us on YouTube or from the comfort of your TV sets, as most of you do. But let's move away from that. Let's get into our next topic for conversations. Today's newspapers, most of them actually, have captured the Vice President, the former Vice President, I beg your pardon, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and some statements he's been making on the parties, the MPP's Thank You tour. According to him, a number of issues accounted for the MPP's defeat in the December 7th polls. You want me to embellish it?
No, not embellish. Describe it properly. It wasn't just a...
But it was a defeat.
No, it was a defeat.
I could find more adjectives to describe that.
2 million. Unprecedented. 2 million votes. Difference. Charlie, let me use 2 million plus. Look.
Whether 10 million or 5 billion.
It was a defeat.
Just a defeat.
Right. So he's attributed the NPP's defeats to a number of issues, including the domestic debt exchange program, the National Cathedral, where he specifically stated that sinking $58 million into that hole also breeded some discontent. I mean, the Ghanaian people were not happy about it. He also spoke about the electronic transfer levy and arrogance of power. I don't know who he attributed that to, but one of the papers actually said that Nane's arrogance of power. Well, he didn't mention that was his running mate. He made that choice. So
Why are you using
he made that choice. But it appears the chickens have come home to roost. I'm going to start with Mr. Solomon Owusu on this subject matter. Also,
a former member.
Also, I'm sure you're aware, Kennedy Japan is saying that people like you should be granted amnesty to return to the party.
You see, let me start from where you ended and
She should be granted amnesty to return to the party.
You see, sometimes when you are campaigning, you want to latch onto every available straw to make your point. Kennedy Japan hasn't wished Alan well in the past, and he will not wish him well today. He's only doing that because he sees it as a feasible way of grounding his campaign. You are aware that along the line, Afenyo Markins was interviewed on a TV show where he made a categorical statement that prior to Ken deciding to contest as a presidential candidate, he was supporting Mahmoud Bawumia. For he and Ken, he said it, and I'm quoting him, I and Ken were in Bawumia's camp. We were his cheerleaders. What it meant was that whatever diabolic plots they hatched against Alan to force him to leave the party, Kennedy Japan was part of it. So how can the same person come out today to say that, or to create the impression as though he loves Alan, and for that matter his supporters more than anybody? In any case, if I want to invite you, Bless, into a program, do I come on TV to invite you or I first discuss with you?
First discuss with me.
To get my consent.
Yeah.
Before I go and make that pronouncement. Is Kennedy Japan saying that prior to him going to Takoradi to make that statement, he has had a thorough discussions with Alan for him to accept that he must go on air and make that pronouncement? If he has done that, then fair deal, because I don't sleep with Alan. I don't know the sort of things he does outside our meetings. And I'm also not Alan. Mr. Alan Chamantin, is entitled to go back. But they are making a fundamental mistake. That so long as Mr. Alan Chamantin goes back and block, everyone follows. I'm not a duck that I follow sheepishly. before I take a decision, I analyze it critically. Before I took the decision to go with Mr. Alan-Kyerematen with the movement for change, I analyzed every step of it. I knew the consequences. So it's not a matter of going to stand on a platform and say that we must grant amnesty to who. And I heard, what's the name of the campaign spokesperson, Miracles. He rather inviting Alan, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. You want them people were formed, you are not even learning how to wear pants. You are inviting a family member back. You see, sometimes you watch some of these people and it's like, are we daydreaming? What is so fascinating about this Nana People's Party that they make it look as though without joining the party, you are losing something. And I wonder, in fact, I lost a lot of things by joining the MPP. And I'm so happy not being part of the MPP. And even not being associated with any of these two political parties. You get my point? So he should know that if you are doing your campaign, don't drag people in unnecessarily. When you have been part of the very system that ensured that Mr. Alan-Kyerematen was alienated from the activities of the party. We cannot be doing that. And consistency must be key. Those Alan supporters whose minds and brains are being swayed by some of these weak analysis, you must put your thinking caps on. Let the thinking caps be on and analyze every persona, because they want to achieve. This is what we call the reverse osmosis. Yes, we have destroyed him. Let's use a way to get him back into the party. He goes back into the party as what? Per the NPP's constitution, when you join the party, you join as fresh. And believe you me, if Alan goes back to the NPP, he cannot become the flag bearer of the NPP. Take it from me. The system is such that he will be treated as an outcast. So if you are someone advising Mr. Alan-Kyerematen, will you ask him to go back to a party that has branded him as an enemy? They see him as an enemy. And why do you want an enemy to be back into your folds? That is for Mr. Alan-Kyerematen. In 2014-2015, the same candidate, Japan, was the one that was pushing for the prosecution of Paul Afoko and Kwabena Japan, and said that they had to be sacked and that the continuous stay of Paul Afoko in the MPP was a danger to the survival of the party. So what has changed? You that in 2014-2015 was calling for them to be sacked. It's not as for Kwabena Japan, I don't even sympathize and empathize with him, because the way he himself behaved told me that he was not up to the task. Afoko has remained silent. In fact, he suffered because of politics. His brother had to be behind bars for almost 10 years. The party did this to Gregory Afoko. And you go and stand on a campaign platform, cheap politicking. Say, we are granting amnesty to Afoko. Hey! You are granting amnesty. So they are just bulls. You use them when you are in opposition to get power and come and maltreat them. Is that what you are telling them? Well, I don't speak for them, but if from where I sit and the analysis of the situation, if they will be so adamant or just fall for these tricks and go back, that's their own cup of tea. They are adults and they can think for themselves. Now, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia on the campaign trail, he says what? Arrogance of power got them out. Is that not the case? I came here on a number of occasions and quoted copiously from the Great Transformation Plan. Is that not the case? On page 83 of the Great Transformation Plan. Doc, what is here? You can read for viewers too.
The arrogance of power.
This GTP was launched in June of 2024. Why do you think that deliberately the movement for change decided to make, as one of our key pillars of developing this country, the behavioral and mindset change as a cluster? We had realized that one of the things that was working against the government was the arrogance levels of people in positions. They didn't respect those that put them there. They took them as slaves. The work that they were supposed to do, they were lording the power over the people that they were supposed to serve. And once you mistake your position to be a position of authority, that you do not respect anybody, you have lost it. So we said we would deal with it by changing the mindset with which people went into power. And that's why it's captured vividly in our great transformational plan. This was launched as far back as in June. They got to know of it recently through Okwe's report. Are they for you? And if you are talking about arrogance of power, the person that was saying it cannot be exempted from it. His own wife and an in-law took soldiers and a bulldozer to go and destroy houses that have been put up by one Otibonsu, a financier of the new patriotic party. It is Legon. Granted, you had an issue with the person. This matter went to former President Kufuor. It went to Kufuor himself. It went to Baumia himself. As a vice president, why did your wife get that power to go and destroy those buildings? So if as a vice president, your wife was destroying people's properties, can you imagine what she would be doing if he became the president? So the arrogance of power was right in its quarter, in his house, in his home, under his nose and watch. And he had been in the know. What did he do about it? Now he talks about the fact that the economic milieu, the problems with the economy also contributed. E-levy, domestic debt exchange program, and so on and so forth. In fact, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was only explaining to the Ghanaians that he was the problem. He was the reason why the MPP lost. First of all, why was he made the running mate to Nana Akufo-Addo? At least at Santa Maria. And I was there that day, that rally, when Nana Akufo-Addo was saying that Sidinaya hata, and that he was bringing in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to deal with such problems. You couldn't. E-levy, domestic debt exchange program were proposals that we sent to the IMF, where we wanted to enroll on their program, the extended credit facility, because we couldn't support our balance of payment position. Now, go and check, go and read the staff level agreement, the executive summary. There you will note that 3 Ghanaians led our negotiations. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Governor Ernest Addison, and Ken Oforiatta. And of the 3, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was the leader. We submitted proposal to the IMF, which was adopted as the staff level agreement. In that proposal, we had front-loaded a lot of taxes and measures to stabilize the economy. One of the measures was to do a domestic debt exchange program, where we will be giving our parents, our grandfathers and mothers haircuts. We have all learned in basic economics, Econs 101, that government bonds are the safest pair of bonds. So if you are invested in it, you do not have to be afraid. It took Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's team to propose to the IMF that they will embark on a domestic debt exchange program so that we can bring the debt portfolio down. Now you yourself go back to Takrady and say that the DDEP was part of the reasons why we lost. How would I take you serious? You were the problem. He says he didn't even know that fuel had been increased. Was he not in this country?
Maybe he was busy campaigning.
Anyway, now, on the same platform, he used the Ashanti Region's report. You know, when they leaked this report was in 2 parts. You have the Michael Quay's report. You have what Chairman and his people commissioned some other guys in Ashanti Region to do. When that report was leaked, the party came to distance itself from it. But I can tell you that Professor Michael Quay's committee never went to Ashanti Region to do anything else. They adopted who lie in Sinka, the report that was commissioned by Chairman and his people.
Have you seen the report?
Oh, I have a copy of the Ashanti Region report.
Okay.
As for, they will not write anything. Who doesn't know why the MPP lost the elections?
To strike knowledge.
Just why Masu commissioned a professor to go and do it. Look, in the Ashanti Region report, they said utterances from Kennedy, Japan, They are doing campaign, and each one is as boxing the other. They are already creating confusion on the platform. And go and see the headlines. Netu is giving a headline, Baumia's media platforms are giving headlines, and there is already confusion. And what are they thanking people for? It's an insult to the intelligence of the people of this country. Maybe they are thanking the Ghanaian for pushing them out because they were not doing well. And if you are admitting that all these things caused your defeat, you have cited the economy, you have cited internal bickering, and so on and so forth, the economy will be what you will be running on in your future elections. So how do you expect to win again? For you to win again will mean this administration performing abysmally than what you left. In any case, it is also for you to beat our economic position as movement for change that is going to transmogrify into a political party. You are telling us all these things happen, and we are going to remind the Ghanaians that these are your own words. So you are rather destroying your own party. In any case, this business of trying to make Akufo-Addo the scapegoat, I'm wondering why Akufo-Addo will also allow himself to bear all the consequences. Or the daughters have decided they will never enter into Ghana's politics. You can never say never. Because from all indications, they are destroying the man to the barest earth. And it's also okay. Every diabolic thing that Akufo-Addo did, he did it to favor Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Because he wanted to see him succeeding. And he succeeded. He succeeded on the first part. That is getting Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to be the flag bearer. What he could not do was to extend the same strategy to the larger Ghanaian populace to win the elections for him. So how can you be so ungrateful to him? When you say this, oh, he only identify the problems that have been captured by Michael Quay's report. Hey, so now Michael Quay's report is coming out. I thought they said it was only internal to the MPP people. And even within the internal MPP people, I can tell you that about 99.9% of the members of the MPP do not know what is contained in the report. How can you be writing a report and you be hiding it from your own members? When you ask them, so the NDC did it. So the NDC is your standard. Then why are you wishing to take over? If they are your bosses and you take everything from them, then you must allow them to go. So that the movement for change will come and put them right. So it's much ado about nothing. It is now that they are facing the reality, the very things that some of us spoke of. We spoke about it, they insulted us. Now they have seen the reality. Who am I to say that they should not go ahead and destroy themselves? Let them destroy it. But they must take Alan out of their engagements. He has suffered one too much from them. They always use him as a punching bag when they want to rejuvenate their party. It is not fair. It is not fair. You cannot use him. Why? He should come back to you. To do what? To do what? Someone that is described as an enemy. People call him Satan, devil. Go to social media. The last time, one Kofi Ofosu posted that, oh, Alan is returning. Go and see the insults. They insulted him head to toe. And you are still calling for him to come back. Come back to do what? Look, this morning, let's think about other matters. I'm done.
Mr. Derek J, are you happy about what's currently happening in the MPP? I don't know if that's a fair question to ask, but these are your opponents. They need to be formidable. They need to put you on your toes.
As a Democrat, you won't be happy.
Are you currently happy about?
Actually, I was going to opt out of making any comments on this matter for two reasons.
Okay.
One is it's their matter, but on the other hand, it has now become our matter.
Okay.
Actually, since the one who was soundly defeated is the one who is belling the cat and spilling the beans, as it were. He did say something that the MPP never learned. If you remember Dr. Arthur Kennedy's book, chasing the elephant into the bush. One of the key things that lost the MPP the elections was sex on the campaign trail.
How?
Yes, it's in the book. That they were rather having sex instead of campaigning. Yes. And yes, me too. You haven't read the... Yes. 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 The MPP...
Balls screaming.
Yes, you don't read. Yes. Dr. Kada, yeah, it is in the...
They were sincerely
loyal ladies.
All pun intended.
truly loyal.
All pun intended.
Yes. So they did it and lost elections that was documented by Dr. Arthur Kennedy, and with sex instead of campaigning. Of course, I mean, when they had all the money to waste and they are stealing all the money, they had actually stolen the purse, the public purse, their campaign. You saw what they did during their internal elections with money. So they thought they could do same in the general elections. They thought it was a done deal. They can just buy the votes of Ghanaians. And unfortunately, Ghanaians had decided that enough was enough.
That's enough.
The arrogance of power thing that he talked about, I think it is clear the people that he was talking about. And Ghanaians can tell almost all the names that you can think of who were arrogant because of power. From the Ken Oforiatas, in fact, the mafia serpent himself also. But the serpent and sons is what he was describing. Akufo-Addo and his boys. And then also other parachicks who thought because everybody was stealing, they too could steal and had stolen enough of the Ghanaians' money. And the things that he didn't talk about, rather, for me, are those that are important. They lost because of the looting. They lost because of galamsey. They lost because of corruption. These three things lost the MPP the elections more than the sex that they are claiming that they were having. They were claiming they were having sex.
Mind you, they are doing a regional tour. Maybe this is for Takrady. When they get to say, we will bring other aspect of it. It's destination specific.
Okay. So yes, of course, the issues were many. So you are saying that in Takrady it was about the sex and...
Yes.
Oh, okay, fine. That's fine. So then we'll wait and hear if they would mention these. But Ghanaians know better. In fact, Ghanaians overwhelmingly voted for President John Dramani Mahama to come and recover all the loot, because there had been a loot, there had been plundering. In fact, for me, I know why I voted, and I know many people voted because of our stolen lands, the lands that they had stolen. Cantonments, Airport, Legon, name it. They are stolen all the lands, and the arrogance with which they were doing these things in our faces. Ken Oforiatta can go and take GRA land, take it, and then go and take GBC land. GBC workers are up and out. So you think GBC people will vote for NPP so they can steal more of their lands when the unions were talking CSIR lands? You think CSIR workers would? Aviation lands. I mean, just name it. They were stealing everything in our faces. Okay? And then, in fact, the annoying thing is the impunity with which they did it. And that is because of the arrogance. So when you talk about arrogance of power, I mean, you see someone like Ken Oforiatta having messed up the economy with Addison and the Bawumia man himself, the Jokula Bawumia. They mess up the economy. MPP, majority in parliament at the time. Now, the impunity to the cries of all Ghanaians, including the MPP itself. So when Bawumia is talking and say our party people said this, it wasn't just the party people. How many MPP people are there in Ghana? Are they the only ones who voted? Of course. I mean, they lost a lot of votes to Alan. That one, we must credit Alan.
That one,
but they did not mention that that Alan lost them votes. And we all know that they lost a lot of votes, not only in Ashanti, but in other parts of the country because of Alan and the way they treated him and his followers and so on. I wish my good friend had talked about his pain full $4 million, you know, shall I say, let me not use that word.
Myself now.
Yeah, if you had said it back then, I'm sure they would have lost by maybe 4 million more.
Yeah, I needed to proceed, but now what I've said is, you know,
Yeah.
more.
But you must put the rest of the information on the set.
Don't worry,
In
it's a
fact,
come. It's a come.
thank you.
What I've
No,
said-
before we close, he
No,
must,
no, no,
he
no,
must
no,
at
no.
least one more disclosure.
I have promised him that I'll
That
get
one-
him one-on-one and I'll give it.
No. You, viewers are watching. Don't do that, Solo. Viewers love you.
Can you imagine?
Viewers love you. So give one more bomb on the set. But you see, on the issue of Galamsey also, the LI that Bawumia and Akufo-Addo crafted and used Jinapor to prosecute, to allow, you know, people to mine in the forest reserves and destroy not only the forest reserves, our lands and water bodies, was one huge reason why they were voted against. And I'll tell you why. It wasn't just about the declaration or the call for declaration of state of emergency, which some quote-unquote labor people who were pseudo, you know, MPP people pretended because of the popular clamor from Ghanaians to the last minute, and then they made a U-turn after they went to meet their boss, Akufo-Addo. Ghanaians genuinely wanted something done about these issues of Galamsey. And it wasn't just about the airline, but it was really about the destruction of the forest and so on. And I'm happy that at least there's been the revocation of those aspects with systematic actions being put in place, the gold board to stop the smuggling. And if you remember, the Al Jazeera documentary, it lost them a lot of votes because it confirmed the involvement of President Akufo-Addo, his family members in Galamsey, and the export, smuggling and export of Galamsey gold. Because they could not take Al Jazeera on even when they claimed that they were going to see. They didn't do anything about it. It means that it's true. In fact, Bawumia himself was also put in that report as someone who was benefiting with his family in these things. In fact, the looting of the lands, also his wife, his brother-in-laws, everybody was in there, including people from his office. There was one gentleman who claimed that the prison's lands were his. In fact, just towards the elections, he was still fighting to take hold of prison's land. You think that prison service people, they don't have families? You think the Ghanaians who are hearing these absurdities, that Ghana lands belong to them, would vote for them? Everybody wanted change so that people can be arrested, interrogated, prosecuted, and so on and so forth. Look at what they did at the trade fair. People's businesses, bulldozers, even in the face of court injunctions, were moving in dead of the night and destroying people's things, some of whom have since died because of their collapsed businesses and so on. You think that people are not seeing these things? Well, woe betides those who did it now that Raymond Acha is CEO of the IOCO. I know he's not a man of vendetta. I hope he doesn't go after them for personal reasons, and he won't. But obviously, he must go for them because they did what they did, and we all know what they did. And so to quote this CJ, the law is the law. Is the law. The law will catch up with those who have, you know, done these wrongs to us. And then last but not the least, we all saw the Siliadapa issue, where, in fact, even before Siliadapa, the president's clearing of people who had committed wrongs in Galamsey, from the Bosome Frehun DC, who was caught, Meku Duka, who was in charge of the mining sector of the ministry, who gangs had actually been engaged in a gang warfare that people even died, you know, still being at post. And then Bawumia went and made him his spokesperson on mining. I mean, how do you take a crook and make him, it means you're going to continue with the same thing that Akufo-Addo was doing. I mean, he talks about e-levy and so on. He was part of, in fact, he was the head of the economic management team, of which the e-levy was a big chunk of. I mean, forget about what he was saying post facto, that he was not involved or he was not interested, as though he was sidelined. If he was sidelined, he should have come out to say so. And that in itself, everybody saw Bawumia as a wimp anyway. So if he's confirming the fact that he's indeed a wimp, Why is he still even bothering with politics? Who wants a wimp? If Bawumia is not just a comic, but a wimp, it's even worse because that's what he's saying. And so I think that he should even abandon this tour that is going on. And then to the Akwanta mining that the president cleared, even when there was evidence from his own Ministry of Lands, Forestry and Mineral Resources, as well as the Minerals Commission. There was evidence. Erastus had video evidence of Akwanta mine, destroying our forests. He came and said, as we speak, the man is not. I mean, who? For Akufo-Addo. So if Akufo-Addo was being rejected, Bawumia obviously must be rejected. So these are the heart of it. Then the corruption part, the scandals. I mean, every day about 3-4, it's terrible. And Fifi Wafu, who was the spokesperson for KOKU, was your spokesperson too. That's Bawumia. I mean, he took all the crooks and surrounded himself with the crooks. So he lost miserably because you were communicating to Ghanaians that you were coming to continue the crooked Akufo-Addo third-term administration. Nobody wanted that. Ghanaians didn't want that. And of course, Sidi Adapa and others, including Abu Jinapo, who is reputed to have had water tanks full of dollars. And when it was going to be searched or something, he decided to burn the house. Just like, I mean, please, who would vote for such a government? I mean, look, I want to see the public tribunals established. And these are constitutional. In fact, it's in the constitution for us to have...
And why is your Attorney General sending all those people to court?
No, but then how many courts are there? We need special courts because of the nature of the cases.
Kwabena Dubois issue, he promised middle of April. Look.
Yes. You see?
Middle of April, we are in, was it?
We're in the middle of April, ending.
So what is the point?
No, but what I'm saying is that, you see, when it opened, it's not like when it is not open though. Go and see what they did to the Volta region. The kind of thievery that happened at Akufo-Addo, the kind of corruption, the cases, the sheer numbers. Look at someone like Atachia is talking. Atachia is the person who claimed that his chief director signed $5 million deal.
Forged his signature.
And in all the 8 years of Akufo-Addo, they said they couldn't catch that man. Several things happened under his watch. He's the one who's promised turning this area into skyscrapers and all that. Look, this man should be in jail. Yet he is the one who is leading various people, trying to protect various people, trying to sue various state institutions, and they want to use legal, to borrow your words, gymnastics, to kind of truncate. Look at an idiot like, look at Ken Furiata.
Thank you.
Look at Ken Furiata suing the special, suing the special prosecutor and demanding
Look at the stupidity. Why do you promise the people that by middle of April you go to court and you don't go? Why wouldn't you?
Sue
You will sue you.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you.
When did he sue?
He sued 2 days or 3 days ago.
Before the days ago,
You realize that? No, today is 20.
Extended impunity.
28.
Yes.
So in that time, I realized that you promised middle of
He
the
has
month.
sued the special prosecutor.
Yeah, of course.
All of them want to sue, and then they want to go on demonstrations to
Ken Furiata also
the
sued.
chief director,
People are suing.
chief justice. No, you see,
Extended impunity.
honestly, Ghanaians must rise up. Ghanaians must rise up. Citizens should lead.
Ghanaians gave the power to your government.
No, I'm saying that whether they liked or not, the public tribunals.
Let me read a few messages.
Ghanaians must also rise up.
I'll read a few messages. Good morning, Pan-Africa TV. Greetings. I was shocked to the marrow that Dr. Bawumia and the NPP are still not ready for power. Per the speeches of Dr. Bawumia, the NPP are aware that they would not be able to recover their loss in any moment soon. He's still there talking about NDC stealing their words to campaign against them. Bawumia and NPP would be in opposition for over a decade. Suglo Ibrahim from Nadoli Kalio, thank you. Kwame Osebunsu says the whole structure of the MPP is in confusion. Steve Kobe says, I think the president is too charitable and lenient to them. Musa Batwa says, it is entirely unreasonable for any group to expect a president to abandon his constitutional responsibilities simply because they are dissatisfied. Has President Mahama violated any law in his handling of the petitions against the Chief Justice? Absolutely not. If the GBA believes otherwise, the appropriate avenue is the courts. A group of lawyers would call on the president to forsake his constitutional duty. Are they not themselves promoting lawlessness? Patrick Ngitia says, good morning. Good morning, Patrick. Bangman John says, good morning, Pan-African TV. Boache Da Costa says, good one, Solo. Right, thank you for your message. This one here also says that I'm surprised by how Baumia is not talking about the corruption issues. The reasons for the loss are many. Kofi Felix sent this one. Thank you. NPP should do the needful to advise Afenyo Maken to stop embarrassing himself and the NPP party. In fact, Ghanaians don't want to hear his name again because he has messed up parliament and Ghana as a whole. It's true that he's suffering from okay, right. James Kesab, I've heard you, but I can't mention the last thing you said on air. Akonta Mining is not an illegal miner. The company holds a legally acquired large-scale mining lease approved by the Minerals Commission and ratified by the relevant state institutions. The lease covers clearly defined portions of the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve and not the entire forest, as some media houses and government officials have deceptively claimed. Respectfully, don't fool the masses with your orchestrated misinformation. Okay, you didn't tell me your name. Bright Cramper. No. Right. Good morning, Pan-Africa TV and your host. Bless, you are looking wonderful. Okay, thank you, Efu Fafa, for your message. I'm sure it's male. Efu is male. Yeah. No. This one is Efu. EFU. Good morning, Bless. Sex, the MPP knew they were leaving power, so it was time for them to enjoy themselves. Useless haircuts and arrogant people. Why didn't they have sex? They were not thinking about Ghana, only themselves and enjoyment. That pizza from London and a V8 would go and carry it from the airport with hazard lights.
No, but did you hear about the ambulance in Fufu? Fufu's era. There's a story about a plane landing and then an ambulance coming to the airport. They thought it was to borrow from Tim Fojo. They thought it was what do you call it? A medical evacuation kind of situation. And only for someone to get out of the ambulance and then with bull and stuff into the ambulance and it drives off. Fufu. So somebody had arrived at the airport wanting to eat fufu. The first thing he does when he gets back. That's arrogance of power. And they repeat it. You see, the MPP doesn't learn. No. They don't learn. Sex and food. Sex and food. That's all. And stealing of money.
Well, let's
But both of them are therapy.
Can we hey, Dr. Mavilas. He's making some regulations. It is.
If you don't eat, can you survive? Eat. Your waist is.
I think it's okay. Can you proceed though? Can you proceed? I've even stopped reading the messages. Continue.
I'm going in this way. Don't have a shake. You actually can be saying this.
Can you proceed? Your thoughts on this?
You see, Dr. Baumia is embarking on two things. One, or at least one of them. Either both of them or one of them. Either literature review or crime confession. Remember, we sat here and I mentioned some Y-ending words that could be traceable to that would be traceable as the cause of the fall of MPP. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia uses the word arrogance. And one of the synonyms of arrogance is pomposity. I mentioned pomposity. All that he has said, from arrogance to e-levy, right? I called it here. In fact, I call it e-thievery.
E-thievery.
You understand that? Yes. Yes. You see, all those things he has mentioned have been on the lips of people, in the pages of newspapers, in the minds of analysts, and on the screens of TV stations. So if he comes to accept them, or to even mention them, then he is doing, at best, literature review. And at worst, crime confession. So I'm not surprised. I'm happy, and I still respect him. In fact, I love him so much for accepting what some of us said 4 years ago, and what some of us warned the party not to do, and what some of us predicted that those things would be the cause of the downfall of the party. So I have been vindicated. You have been vindicated.
Yes.
Solo has been vindicated.
Yeah.
All of us here have been vindicated.
That's true.
And it should be in the interest of democracy that he embarks on that literature review or crime confession. I just want to be optimistic that he does so genuinely. He does so genuinely. If he does so genuinely,
and not for political expediency.
No. If he does so genuinely, it will indeed help the party. Because the kind of public solidarity, the goodwill extended to President John Mahama and his party will depend on how NPP organizes itself outside opposition. And I can tell you the goodwill now, if President John Mahama manages the goodwill within the context of good governance, it will continue to constitute public anger against NPP. And they need to accept the realities, the bitter truths, so that they will be able to reorganize themselves and perhaps come back to power one day. You talk of arrogance of power. Who didn't know? Look at the way you have mentioned that. I think I should even avoid it. I mean, the angle of Ken Ofori-Atta. They could do whatever they wanted to do with impunity. So if he's doing that, I think in fact, I respect him and I thank him for that. That literature review. But the literature review should also be conducted in a way that will not be destructive to the party. Because, look, when he talks, other people will have the opportunity to talk back. And he should be ready to...
Sarah Joseph.
Yes!
And now Power Graves is also firing.
Yes!
Oh, really?
Yeah, Power Grave Bachi Dankwa.
He's also firing from all angles.
Yes.
From all angles.
Hey, wow.
You see, and that should be the case. We saw this coming, and we told them that they were basking in the sea of arrogance. Now that they are wallowing in the river of regret. And if you bask in the sea of arrogance, so it's sincere. Also learn. I am referring to, yes, that's what I am advising the current regime to learn from it. Look, condemnation is not reserved for NPP. Condemnation is for any political party or politician that misbehaves. So let the regime do everything possible. And I repeat that we need our loot. We need our money looted. We need the loot. We need it back. We need it. The Attorney General, in my estimation, is slow. It could be reasonable. But the Attorney General, we are reminding you, you are slow in retrieving the loot. We need the loot. Look, when we get our loot and you want to punish those people, you want to
Start prosecution and not achieve conviction. Especially with the kind of court systems we have.
My brother.
I mean, you know that.
He can. You are using can. He can also. It's a possibility.
Yes, but we
so-
need. That's why we need the public tribunals also, because the
Whether
volumes,
public
the volumes,
let-
the
let me tell you
volumes.
something.
That
Whether-
also dam is about to break.
Whether public tribunal or not public tribunal, we need our money. That's
No,
what we
but
want.
you can't go and just collect the money from the people.
He should start the prosecution.
That part, they collected the money from her. What did they collect?
They return the money.
No one said return the money to her.
Are you waiting to dismiss the Chief Justice before? Is that
Dismiss.
Is
How
that
do you dismiss a Chief Justice?
Is that a plan?
Oh no. What do you mean by dismiss?
No, but why are you acting decisively? You know, well, we understand the situation, but we still want the Attorney General to hasten a bit, so that at least we want our money.
Yes.
We want our money, and that's why we are not vindictive. We are never vindictive. If the Attorney General gets us our money and he wants to deal with government functionaries, should also learn. I won't mention names, but there have been instances of arrogance by some of them. Let me give you a classic example.
Oh, you said you mention names.
No, I'm not going to mention names. I said names, but I can mention positions, not names. Positions, not names. Okay, well, it will be generic. An appointee had a problem with being challenged by somebody.
And so sacked the person.
You understand that? I mean, then in the one took place in the south, another took place in the north. In fact, in the northern situation,
It was a health facility.
The appointee was that led to the health facility.
Yes.
Being reduced to a health facility. You understand? I love his style, but he wasn't too mature in handling the conversation, because at a point he asked the gentleman, don't you think I'm a minister? And so what? If you are a minister, and so are you God? Are you even the law of this country? Are you the constitution? You are the minister. You have done the right thing. You have complained. You have the right to complain. And your accused has the right to explain. If you enjoy the comfort of complaint, you must be ready to bear the burden of explanation. You complain. Yours is to complain, yes. Let the other person also explain. If that aspect is not good at all, it shouldn't be part of the humble legacy of President John Mahama.
Right.
Appointees should understand that they are Ghanaians, and that when they talk, we can also talk. Freedom of expression is an entrenched constitutional provision. It can only be changed by a referendum, not an executive order. Not even the Trump style of executive order can change the freedom of expression. If they talk, we can also talk. So expressions such as, hey, shut up, don't you know I'm a minister? Why? You have chosen to be a minister. The person you were speaking to wasn't an idiot. That person is a senior doctor, a surgeon, a consultant.
So is that why the NPP lost the election?
You understand that? Yeah, arrogance. It's arrogance. So my brother, let the appointees learn from the arrogance of MPP.
Right.
Let them refine their vocabularies when they are expressing. As for public discourse, it's not only, but permit me to blame you for using words that are not ministerial. Thank you.
Right.
We thank you.
Kaidebi Steve. So who is Baumia blaming for their loss? Omar Sari says MPP is a group of criminals. Samuel Ansari, in the past 8 years, Ghanaians never spoke about possibilities of coup d'etat. Richard Anyagba must stop introducing the word coup d'etat into the national discourse. He started this last week. Is that why the US is planning an attack against Burkina Faso, cause mayhem in Ghana, and install a puppet regime as it happened 1966 to 1969? He must now be a wealthy man. He should silently enjoy his booty. Abdul Kadri Karim Haruna, Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Right? The whole structure of the MPP is in a state of confusion. Okay, thank you. Steve Kobe says, I think the president is too charitable and lenient. I think I've already done this message. Good morning to you and your panelists. This is Adam Kola from Tamale Central. My brother, you see, Ghanaians voted and it's to come and save their lives. So MPP should give GM a break to work. Okay. Right, thank you very much, Adam Kola. Yusuf in Accra also says that, good morning, Solo was right all along that the NPP was a sinking party. Does it mean that he was not part of the problem? Anyway, let the NDC listen and learn. The government has no excuse but to prosecute and retrieve all money looted by the previous administration. Otherwise, they will suffer the same fate. All right, thank you, Yusuf from Accra. Hello, Pan-African TV. Remind Dr. Mazouk that the AG promised that they will only go to courts to execute the oral when they have irrefutable evidence. So he should hasten slowly and allow the NDC to establish their tribunals as promised by the AG. Abdulaziz from Accra sent this one.
Thank you, but how long?
Maybe we should declare a state of emergency and arrest all the culprits.
AG is not slow at all. Saying that means you want him to fail. It must be strategic process, looking at how our court system is. Okay, thank you. KOKU, good morning. I'm an NDC member, but what I'm seeing, Mahama and AG are corrupt, playing games with the criminal organization called MPP for arresting. Okay, the message is not so clear. So, Eric, please put your message together. We'll resend it and I'll read it. Right, thank you. Bless. Was it not NPP people who renamed Flagstaff House to Jubilee House? It means that when NPP is in that house, they only jubilate and not and nothing else. So no wonder they were. It's okay.
No wonder, please read it.
No, I won't talk about. I won't talk about sex again.
Sex in the city or something.
I won't mention sex again. Let's proceed with our conversation.
You won't mention sex as male or female. Is that what you are saying?
As the act.
Oh, okay.
The verb. Not the noun.
No, so you're saying that you're not saying that the NPP were having sex during the campaign again.
Can you move
That's
away
in
from
the
that,
reports.
please?
Sorry, you should stop it.
Right, let's proceed. We have some 20 minutes more. That would be enough to shed some light on the MPP and some other political parties who have planned to protest on May 5 the suspension of the Chief Justice. So the parties are here. NDP is one of them. What's the name of Akbalu's party again?
LPP also.
LPG. Yes, so LPG is part of them. NDP is also one of them. And then GUM, I hear they were, but they've come out with a statement saying that they are not part of. Yeah, they are not part of any such protest.
Fraudulent advertisement.
I'm starting with you, by the way, so kindly proceed. We have some 5 minutes.
Okay, very well. Well, there are a number of demonstrations that the MPP plans to have. The reasons for their demonstrations, the unstated reasons, are the fact and the same reason for which Ahiagba is claiming that there should be a coup, or there will be a coup, or there is going to be a coup, and so on in this country. I don't think that he should be arrested for saying that. I don't think so. Some people believe he should be. I disagree. He's a desperate man in a party that has enjoyed too much sex and lost an election. And so if he thinks he can get an orgasm another way, let's allow him.
He says he should mention that. So why are you mentioning sex?
Okay, very well. Very well. Now, you see, the MPP is breaking up. There's a leadership struggle. Bamia is sinking and realizing that the breakup of MPP into other splinter parties may lead them to perpetual, opposition. The miserable minority is also not clicking in parliament. I mean, NDC has an absolute majority and can work without, the MPP. Ghanaians are so angry and disenchanted with the MPP. The evidence that's available and is being put out publicly is hurting the MPP so bad. And it's not like Ghanaians didn't know that the MPP have stolen our monies, our lands, and so on. But the evidence is being brought in a manner that, assuming it was a court, they should be convicted. And Ghanaians are believing that. So they want to divert attention. 2 is that they want to avoid prosecution. So they want to thwart investigation. That's why they are beginning to advise their people to sue. And it's being led by people who themselves are complicit. Exactly. So Atachia, for example, we've seen his own. And he's leading the charge to block somebody from being prosecuted. Then Afenyo Markins, we know when it comes to the ECG containers, himself, Ejapen Massa, Napo, Kelly Gajekpo, etc. They are all supposed to be in the cooler by now. And Ghanaians are impatient. I mean, as we can see on set today,
Yes.
Ghanaians want the thieves arrested.
Yes.
And so these thieves have congregated and are trying to prevent their colleague thieves, and they are pretending as though they are not thieves, and that they are stopping others from being persecuted. But they know that they themselves are supposed to be prosecuted. And those persons who are being investigated are supposed to be arrested and prosecuted. So they want to avoid even going to court by heading to court first to stop the action. Just like the CJ, there's a petition. They all, in fact, the MPP told us in the case of Loretta